You are looking live at the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft attached to the Prishal module on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. On board that spacecraft, 3 crew members of the Expedition 73 crew, NASA's Jonny Kim, and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zubritsky, all suited up, ready to undock from the complex about 25 minutes from now to begin the ride home and the completion of a 245-day mission. Good evening from Mission Control in Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room. Everything is in readiness for the departure of Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zubritsky. They climbed aboard their Soyuz spacecraft a few hours ago, donned their Sokol launch and entry suits, conducted leak checks on their side of the Soyuz Prishal docking interface, as well as leak checks of their Sokol launch and entry suits. And as we said, everything is in readiness for the actual physical separation of the Soyuz from Prishal at 7:41 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, 8:41 and 30 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. Their destination is a very chilly steppe of Kazakhstan, southeast of the town of Zhezkazgan, about 91 miles south of Zhezkazgan, for a Tuesday morning touchdown at 10:03 and 55 seconds a.m. Kazakhstan time, which will be 11:03:55 here in Houston, 12:03 and 55 seconds a.m. Eastern Time, just after midnight Eastern Time on Tuesday morning. That parachute-assisted landing will be met by a team of Roscosmos, Rosaviatsia, RSC Energia, and NASA personnel who are embedded in the search and recovery forces, who will be making their way to the landing site very shortly. We'll have more on the landing and recovery operations for these 3 crew members in just a few moments. The International Space Station is currently flying 262 miles over Madagascar, moving from southwest to northeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. As we mentioned, the 3 returning crew members, NASA's Jonny Kim, Soyuz commander Sergei Ryzhikov, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexei Zubritsky, climbed aboard their Soyuz spacecraft, closed the hatch a few hours ago, and conducted leak checks on their side of the docking interface, as did the remaining expedition crew members on the station side of the docking interface. So we have an airtight seal ready to depressurize that small passageway or vestibule prior to the time of the command to open up the hooks holding the Soyuz to the Prishal module. The Prishal hooks themselves were opened just over an hour ago, just prior to the completion of the leak checks at the docking interface. A few hours ago, the departing crew members gathered one final time with their space station counterparts to offer a few final words that signaled the beginning of the end of their time on orbit. You see Jonny Kim there on the right, Sergei Ryzhikov in the middle, in the front row, and on the left, Alexei Zubritsky. They were joined by the crew members who are remaining aboard the International Space Station. The new station commander, Mike Fink, he's in the back row, second from the left, joined by NASA astronauts Zena Cardman and Chris Williams, Kimi Yayui from the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, and 3 Roscosmos cosmonauts, Sergei Kud-Sverchkov, Sergei Mikheyev, and Oleg Platonov. At the time of physical separation of the Soyuz from the Prishal module, about 21 minutes from now, that will mark the official end of Expedition 73 and the beginning of Expedition 74. And here, again, several hours ago, you see the crew members waving goodbye one final time before entering the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft. There on the right is NASA's Mike Fink, who is the new space station commander and will be for the remainder of his mission on board the complex. Once the hatches swung closed, Sergei Kud-Sverchkov, one of the newer arrivals on board the International Space Station, conducted leak checks on the station's side of the docking interface. At the time of landing for the Soyuz spacecraft a few hours from now, Kim, Zubritsky, and Ryzhikov will have completed 245 days in space and aboard the space station itself, 3,920 orbits of the Earth, a mission of some 104 million statute miles. By the way, that's the equivalent of about 208 round trips to the moon. For Jonny Kim and Alexei Zubritsky, this was their first flight into space. For Ryzhikov, his 245 days on this mission will have brought a total of 603 days in space for him on his 3 flights. That puts him 13th on the all-time endurance list. This trio of space travelers saw the arrival of 9 visiting vehicles and the departure of 6 visiting vehicles. Ryzhikov and Zubritsky conducted a pair of spacewalks during their time on orbit, totaling 13 hours and 3 minutes. We are about 6.5 minutes away from the flight control team here in Houston, led by Flight Director Heidi Brewer, polling the team here in Mission Control for a go for undocking. The sequence of events after that call for an undocking command to be issued at 7:40 p.m. Central Time, 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time. That basically initiates the opening of the hooks on the Soyuz side of the docking interface with the Prishal module. That procedure takes about 90 seconds to complete, followed by springs on both sides of the docking interface pushing off against one another to actually create the physical separation of Soyuz from the Prishal module and the International Space Station. At that point, Expedition 73 goes into the history books. Expedition 74 formally begins. There's a crew portrait of the 7 crew members who will remain aboard the International Space Station. At the top, Mike Fink, Zina Cardman, Kimi Ayui, and Oleg Platonov. At the bottom, Sergei Kud-Sverchkov, Chris Williams of NASA, and Sergei Mikheyev. The undocking itself is scheduled at 7:41 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, 8:41 and 30 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. There will be a pair of separation burns, small firings of the Soyuz thrusters, the first being 8 seconds in duration, the second about 15 seconds in duration, to create the opening rate between the Soyuz and the station. It will travel to a safe distance away from the station, about 41 kilometers away from the station, for the big burn. That'll be the deorbit burn that is scheduled at 10:09 and 46 seconds p.m. Central Time, 11:09 and 46 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. That burn, which is basically a braking maneuver, it's a retrograde burn of 4 minutes and 42 seconds in duration to slow the Soyuz down by 128 meters per second, allowing it to basically fall out of orbit on its high-speed entry back into the Earth's atmosphere. Some 24 minutes after the deorbit burn, the pyrotechnics will be initiated to separate the 3 sections of the Soyuz spacecraft. The upper section, as you see in this diagram, is the orbital module. Right after the deorbit burn, that orbital module will be depressurized to vacuum in advance of the module separation itself. The 3 crew members are strapped into their respective seats in the descent module. That's the center section of the 3-section Soyuz spacecraft, with Zubritsky in the left seat, Sergei Ryzhikov as the Soyuz commander in the center seat, and Jonny Kim in the right seat. The call sign that you'll be hearing from Russian flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov will reference favore, or favor, in the English spelling of the term. That is the name of a mountain range in Russia that Ryzhikov chose as the call sign for his Soyuz vehicle. Again, the separation of the three sections of the Soyuz scheduled at 10:38 and 4 seconds p.m. Central Time, 11:38 and 4 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. Just about 3 minutes after that, the Soyuz, the descent module, that center section, traveling with its heat shield in the direction of travel, will reach the upper traces of the Earth's atmosphere, some 420,000 feet above the Earth, traveling quite fast. That will occur at 10:41 p.m. Central, 11:41 p.m. Eastern Time. At that point, just about a minute and a half later, plasma will begin to build up. That's the result of the heat that will build up around the Soyuz spacecraft that reaches some 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat shield, of course, will be repelling that heat as the Soyuz barrels its way toward the landing site on the steppe of Kazakhstan. Once the spacecraft and its three occupants exit the plasma regime, they'll feel maximum G loads on their bodies, the first tug of gravity in some 8 months of spaceflight. The maximum G loads of about 4 to 5 Gs against their bodies expected to occur at 10:47 p.m. Central, 11:47 p.m. Eastern Time. The command to open the parachutes on the Soyuz will occur at an altitude of 10.6 kilometers or 6.5 miles above the Earth, 34,777 feet to be precise. That command to open the chutes is expected at 10:49 and 31 seconds p.m. Central Time, 11:49 and 31 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. That parachute deployment sequence is triggered by a barometric pressure sensor at an altitude of 41,000 feet. At that point, the main parachute cover is jettisoned by pyros and springs, pulling out 2 extraction chutes, which in turn pulls out the drogue chute. That in turn pulls out the main chute. This all takes about 20 seconds to occur. Then at 21,300 feet, a barometric pressure sensor starts a timer that triggers most of the remaining events in the landing sequence. At an altitude of just 18,000 feet above the Earth, commands are issued to jettison the heat shield, inhibit the entry thrusters, and to open up valves to vent all the hydrogen peroxide fuel for the entry thrusters and the oxygen in the life support system tank. You've seen, perhaps in past Soyuz landings, a white vapor emanating from the spacecraft. That is normal. That's a combination of hydrogen peroxide and oxygen venting into the air. The purpose of this is to safe the vehicle for landing. The search and recovery forces do not want hazardous gases to remain in those tanks when the soft landing thrusters fire just a second or two before touchdown. This way, the ground support team can approach the vehicle immediately without any concern for hazardous gases. If all goes as planned, landing will occur at 11:03 and 55 seconds p.m. Central Time, 12:03 and 55 seconds a.m. Eastern Time, 10:03 and 55 seconds a.m. Kazakhstan Time. That'll occur about 91 miles southeast of the town of Jezkazgan, 2 hours and 6 minutes after sunrise at the landing site in Kazakhstan.
Let's open manual ISO valve 2. Here it is.
The NASA team that flew into Kazakhstan over the weekend, they received their helicopter assignments and flew on an Antonov 26 aircraft from the main staging city of Karaganda, Kazakhstan, to the forward staging site in Jezkazgan, Kazakhstan last night. They overnighted in Jezkazgan, now have made their way to the airfield in Jezkazgan, where they will board a half a dozen helicopters en route to the landing site, taking off in sequential fashion to arrive in the vicinity of the landing site around the time that the Soyuz will be approaching its touchdown point. They will form a circular racetrack pattern around the landing site. The voice and telemetry from Soyuz will be relayed through that Antonov fixed-wing aircraft that will send all of that voice and data back to the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov outside of Moscow. As is typical for a Soyuz entry, we do expect a loss of signal in voice communications from Ryzhikov aboard the Soyuz when it reaches a point about 128 kilometers away from the station. The antennas on the Soyuz and the antennas on the station will not be close enough to provide voice relay. So the communications, as is always the case, is expected to be a bit choppy from time to time until the Soyuz, with its familiar beep beep from its beacon, reaches the vicinity of that Antonov 26 at the landing site, and then we should be good to go for a touchdown about 91 miles southeast of the town of Jezkazgan.
I have Sudan power, onboard computer ready.
На input 2 ТВС форматом.
And select TV system display on input 2. Okay, I'm priming command R17.
Подготовил, выдаю.
The command is ready. Sending the command. Transmitter is on. Display plus TV mode.
We are less than 9 minutes away now from the command for the undocking. Again, this command that will be issued
Approach display
at 7:40 p.m. Central Time, 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time,
for dynamics
is designed to open the hooks holding the Soyuz in place, latched on to the Prashal module, to which it has been attached since April 8th. It'll take 90 seconds for the hooks to fully open, initiating springs on both sides of the docking interface to push off against one another, and then we'll have physical separation.
Секунд до ТРДР.
30 seconds to dynamic ops enable command. That's correct.
20.
20. 10.
All of the activities leading up to the anticipated undocking just a few minutes from now have gone very smoothly. No issues reported. Again, the departing crew members, Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky, floated into their Soyuz vehicle at 4:30 p.m. Central Time, closed the Soyuz hatch behind them, began a series of leak checks before donning their Sokol launch and entry suits, conducted leak checks in the suits themselves, and everything is in readiness for their departure.
With your go prior to TV more, I selected wide angle length. I'm activating AGC mode. Yes, press it once.
Выдал один раз пересветку.
AGC mode once.
Принято.
Views nominal. Copy.
This view is the same view that the three crew members are seeing inside the descent module on their control panel.
TV more.
This is the external camera cross-haired view from the Soyuz MS-27.
I have soft dock.
You're familiar with that cross-haired engineering view. You'll see the data in the lower left-hand screen represent the distance that the Soyuz will have backed away from the International Space Station and its rate of departure.
I'm activating the headlight. S-17 commanding. We activated the headlight. ISS power connection is not lit. Docking system remote control is not lit. With your go, we are ready to power up the docking system at 043900. I confirm 043900. That's command D7 from the command control panel. Copy.
Again, a great view of the Soyuz MS-27 in the final minutes before its departure from the Prishal module. Less than 4.5 minutes now before the command is issued for the undocking. Once again, physical separation will occur 90 seconds after the issuance of that command. Just to reset some of the upcoming events, the undocking command is scheduled just over 3 minutes from now at 7:40 p.m. Central Time. 90 seconds later, physical separation. 3 minutes after physical separation is the first of 2 separation burns of the Soyuz thrusters. This will be an 8-second burn to increase its departure rate by 0.53 meters per second. The second separation burn occurs about 1 minute and 20 seconds after that, a 15-second burn to further increase the opening rate by 1.61 meters per second.
Разговор до команды 30 секунд.
30 seconds.
Готовы через 20 минут выдать.
Just over a minute away from the undocking command being issued to begin the trip home for Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky, and a chilly homecoming on the steppe of Kazakhstan on Tuesday morning.
4, 3, 2, 1. Commanding.
Дмитрий 7.
D7, D11,
Дмитрий 15.
lit, D15, lit, G.
The Soyuz docking mechanism has now been activated.
Lit. TS8 mechanical connection is lit.
Решение в 04:40. Готовы выдать команду на открытие крюков.
With your go at 4:40, we are ready to command hook opening. Yes, you have a go to command D17 at 04:40. Copy. Commanding in 20 seconds.
D17.
Standing by for the issuance of the undocking command.
10, 5,
5,
4,
4,
3,
3,
2, 1.
Выдаем.
Commanding.
And the command has been sent to open the hooks. This will take about 90 seconds to complete.
Closed, not lit. S13 is not lit. Transfer hatch closed is lit.
The hooks are driving according to telemetry being received at the Russian Mission Control Center.
Pressurization. Copy, awaiting separation. Copy.
About 30 seconds away from physical separation.
Есть погасание механсоединения.
Mechanical connection is not lit.
Есть
And we have undocking.
4136.
044136, I have separation. Docking system mode is complete. Soft dock is not lit. I have attitude system readiness 1 and 2. And indicator mode is not lit.
Undocking confirmed at 7:41 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, as Soyuz of the International Space Station flew 262 miles over eastern Mongolia.
Condition. Let me see.
Expedition 73 in the history books. Expedition 74 now officially underway.
Is clean, no FOG, and we're continuing to separate.
Favor, состояние стыка подтвердите.
Favor, please confirm interface condition.
This view from the Soyuz external engineering camera.
2 minutes to first burn.
That first burn, as mentioned, an 8-second burst of the Soyuz engines. That will initiate a faster opening rate. Jonny Kim, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Alexei Zabritsky on the way home. Undocking occurring flawlessly on time at 7:41 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time.
Через минуту ожидаем включения ДПО.
In 1 minute, we'll have depot burn.
Up until the undocking, for the first time in history, every single docking port at the International Space Station had been occupied. Now there is an open parking place.
Favore, Moscow on interface conditions. I reported that the docking interface is clean and there are no debris. We're continuing to separate. 10 seconds to thruster firing.
Есть включение ДПО.
I have thruster firing.
And the first of the two separation burns being conducted.
8 seconds, burn complete.
And it was a nominal burn, 8 seconds in duration.
We have attitude.
The second burn, 15 seconds in duration, about 1 minute and 20 seconds from now.
Экипаж МКС ЦУПа Москвы в канале СГ-1 для
Есть обобщенный ГСО.
I have attitude readiness, and we are waiting for
The Soyuz reported to be stable, flying over southeastern Russia.
Отвечаю.
Сереж, можно переводить
30 seconds.
ТК в положении закрыто.
Принято в работе.
Это.
Goodbye.
Standing by for the second separation burn.
Есть включение двигателей.
And the burn is underway.
Firing for the second burn.
7 секунд.
7 seconds.
10.
10.
Перемещаемся вдоль оси станции в сторону американского сегмента.
We are translating towards the US Soyuz. The burn
And the second burn of 15 seconds in duration was nominal, so the Soyuz has increased its opening rate on the International Space Station after an on-time departure.
Victor 18 is primed. We're sending the command. The command is sent. We are continuing in page 50. We have time cycle completion. Rate sensors not lit. Accelerometer is not lit. Prop system pressurization is not lit. And we're priming Ivan 1. What's the E1 status? It is lit. We are priming Andrei 11. Don't touch. With your go, we are ready to select first thruster manifold. That's correct. A11. Commanding A11. Andrei 13 is not lit. Priming D8.
As the Soyuz MS-27 moves further and further away from the space station, the search and recovery forces, called Rosaviatsa, with NASA personnel embedded in the recovery team, will soon be making their way to the airfield in Zhezkazgan, the forward staging area for tonight's landing and recovery of the crew.
To go off the big screen. Yes, command rotation controller in attitude control mode. Copy.
All of the Soyuz systems reported to be in great shape. Next up on the checklist of timelined events will be the deorbit burn. That is scheduled at 10:09 and 46 seconds Central Time, 11:09 and 46 seconds Eastern Time. A 4-minute, 42-second braking maneuver to slow the Soyuz down by 128 meters per second.
Control mode. And we're stowing the translation hand controller in transmit position. Copy.
A good view of the Soyuz near the limb of the Earth as it flies from northwest to southeast, now crossing the Kamchatka Peninsula. On board, NASA's Jonny Kim and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zabritsky. We're about 3 hours, 13 minutes away from touchdown of this vehicle, the descent module, a parachute-assisted landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan.
Суд Москвы, фаворы.
Moscow, Favory, spherical tank pressure 167, second section 171, 491 is the prop pressure, and with your go on ready to deactivate video. Let's deactivate video, Favory. We have a go, copy.
Отключил телевидение.
I deactivated video at 04:51:20.
Фаворы Москвы. Признак спуск введен. Уставки на спуск заведены.
Favory, we have the descent flag. The settings are ready, and we'll be working on page 54, but we have plenty of time before that. Copy.
This is Mission Control Houston. If you're just joining us, you're looking at the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft, having undocked from the International Space Station about 13 minutes ago at 7:41 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, 8:41 and 30 seconds p.m. Eastern Time, as Soyuz and the International Space Station flew 262 miles over eastern Mongolia. Aboard the Soyuz, NASA's Jonny Kim and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zabritsky are in the home stretch of a 245-day mission in which they will have traveled almost 104 million miles. Their destination is the chilly steppe of Kazakhstan, some 91 miles to the southeast of the town of Zhezkazgan, where the Rosaviatsa search and recovery forces will be awaiting their arrival. After touchdown, the main event will be to extract the crew, place them in comfortable chairs by their capsule so that they can have a few minutes in an effort to try to regain some equilibrium after 8 months of weightlessness. They will be brought in those chairs into a nearby inflatable medical tent where they will remove their Sokol launch and entry suits, get into more comfortable clothing, receive initial medical exams, and then be brought into 3 nearby helicopters, Russian Mi-8 helicopters, one for each crew member, to be flown back to the prime staging city in Karaganda, Kazakhstan, which is northeast of the landing site. Kim will board a NASA plane to fly back to Houston. Ryzhikov and Zabritsky will board a Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center aircraft to fly back to their training base and their home in Star City, Russia, outside of Moscow.
Фаворы по Москве.
Favory, Moscow.
Фаворы на связи.
This is Favory.
Фаворы, все идет штатно в соответствии с программой полета.
Everything is nominal according to the flight program. Please stay online.
будем работать по странице 54.
We expect the next com session at 0600 and we'll be performing steps in page 54. Copy. Next com session at 0600 and we'll be performing page 54. And please be on comms. If there are any questions, we're always ready to answer. Copy. Thank you.
This is Mission Control Houston. The Russian flight controllers in Korolyov outside of Moscow continuing to have a dialogue with Soyuz commander Sergei Ryzhikov aboard the Soyuz MS-27, along with Jonny Kim seated to his right, and with Alexei Zabritsky seated to Ryzhikov's left in the center section of the Soyuz, the descent module. The Soyuz moving to a safe distance away from the International Space Station for the initiation of a deorbit burn at 10:09 and 46 seconds p.m. Central Time, 11:09 and 46 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. This is basically a braking maneuver to enable the Soyuz to drop out of orbit for its high-speed entry back to Earth.
Москвы, ВГ-1 по радиограмме 55.
Отвечаем, ВГ-1.
Миш выполнил съемку стыковочного узла.
Fading from view, the Soyuz MS-27 on course to reach a distance of some 41 kilometers away from the International Space Station for the initiation of a deorbit burn about 2 hours and 9 minutes from now. The three crew members aboard the Soyuz, Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky, launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome back on April 8th. It was a two-orbit rendezvous, which is typical now for crewed Soyuz missions. They reached the station just over 3 hours after their liftoff, docking to that Prishal module, the same docking port that they departed from about 22 minutes ago. The crew saw the arrival of 9 visiting vehicles and the departure of 6 visiting vehicles. And while on board, Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky were part of the commemoration of the 25th anniversary of a permanent human occupancy on the International Space Station, as well as the arrival of the new Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency cargo ship, the HTVX-1. As the Soyuz is just about out of view from cameras on the International Space Station, the initial report from the NASA team embedded with the Rosaviatsia Search and Recovery Forces is that they are departing their hotel in Zhezkazgan for the airfield there, where they will board the Russian Mi-8 helicopters eventually to fly down to the landing site. Right now, the temperature in Zhezkazgan is 20 degrees Fahrenheit with light snow. The Russian flight controllers are in the process of uplinking landing site coordinates for the onboard computers on the Soyuz. The landing site will be about 91.3 statute miles southeast of Zhezkazgan, with the landing occurring 2 hours and 6 minutes after sunrise. Sunrise at the landing site is about 52 minutes from now. with the deorbit burn planned for 10:09 and 46 seconds Central Time. This is Mission Control Houston with the Soyuz MS-27 now having passed out of visual range of external cameras on the International Space Station. We have an animation that will depict the next several activities leading up to the touchdown of the vehicle on the steppe of Kazakhstan. As we just saw, the whole entry process begins with the undocking of the Soyuz. Of course, that occurred a short time ago at 7:41 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time. The Soyuz backs away to a distance of about 41 kilometers away from the International Space Station for the deorbit burn, which is a 4-minute, 42-second retrograde braking maneuver to slow the Soyuz down and allow it to drop out of orbit. Some 24 minutes after the deorbit burn is complete, pyrotechnics will separate the three sections of the Soyuz. The crew, of course, strapped into their seats in the descent module with the heat shield in the direction of travel to repel temperatures that will build up to about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. The first major activity after that will be the command to open the chutes, first drogue chutes, then the main parachute, and just a few seconds before touchdown, the soft landing thrusters will fire just about 1 to 2 seconds above the ground. That is a final braking maneuver to soften the landing for the crew on board, and the Soyuz will be home. Landing is scheduled tonight at 11:03 and 55 seconds p.m. Central Time, 12:03 and 55 seconds a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, 10:03 and 55 seconds a.m. at the landing site in Kazakhstan, about 91 miles to the southeast of the town of Zhezkazgan, where the Rosaviatsa Search and Recovery Forces will be moving to the airfield there to board Russian Mi-8 helicopters to make their way to the landing site for the recovery of the crew. We will be back on the air at 9:30 p.m. Central, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time for deorbit burn, entry and landing, and the recovery of the crew on the steppe of Kazakhstan. So stay with us throughout the evening for the final chapter in the 245-day mission of NASA's Jonny Kim and Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zabritsky. With Expedition 74 now officially underway aboard the International Space Station, we'll take a pause and we'll be back with you in about an hour and 20 minutes. This is Mission Control Houston.